Alright, so today I decided to do something a little bit different and do stereotypes. So anybody who knows the TF2 community will probably know of the weapon, misc, so on and so forth stereotypes that Soundsmith did. I've been binge watching those lately and, well, kind of decided to do something similar for War Thunder. Mostly because I wanted to put something out while I'm in my tank hiatus. I know I still owe you guys tank reviews from months and months and months ago, but I just haven't been really feeling tanks lately, other than high tier Sweden or, mid tier Russia. Alright, so just to kind of have some fun today, we're going to do nation stereotypes for air. Now, I'd like to say that War Thunder's community doesn't really need this disclaimer, but I know the War Thunder community way too well. So here we go, disclaimer time. Stereotypes don't mean everybody. If I say something about your favorite nation, for example, I say that American players like to lick their feet. That doesn't mean I'm saying that you, as a player who plays American Air, like to lick your feet. That also doesn't mean that you should go around to every American player you see and say, hey, you like licking your feet. Durr. No. All I'm saying is that's the stereotype that, people generally think of when they see you as an American player, whether it's true or not. Okay? There. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump right into America. Alright, so America. These guys usually fall into one of three categories. First off is the SEAL Clubber. This guy knows his planes and knows his enemies. He's generally a pretty scary opponent, but usually pretty chill in chat. Um, so yeah, take that for what it is. The second stereotype is the obsessive. This guy has a basic understanding of American planes and kind of understands the concept of boom and zoom. So he's going to try and do it. He'll climb up and buzz around, find a target, dive on it. The boom and zoom thing. If he gets a kill, then great. He's back up into the air like normal. On to the next one. But if he doesn't get the kill, he fixates on that target. He'll almost always try to chase it around and end up in a turn fight at low altitude. At which point the enemy just has to, wait for him to bleed his speed and then flip around and slap him one. Lastly is the clueless. This guy will try to take high energy, high altitude fighters like the Thunderbolt or the Aerocobra and use them in low speed, low altitude turn fights. And then get tilted when he gets outmaneuvered by literally everything he's facing. However, he's also the first to jump in to help a friendly with an objective or in a fight, even if he's not particularly useful. Germany. These guys come in two flavors. Either they're constantly bitching about how much Germany suffers, or they're completely silent. Gameplay-wise, they're all pretty similar, decent but not spectacular. I think I've seen one extremely good German player and a couple of crappy ones. That is until you get to high tier. At high tier, if you see a G91R4, you can expect him to either miss every one of his missiles, then whine that, insert country here is OP, bitch incessantly about how much Germany suffers, TKP, team kill at least twice, or just crash while trying to take off. These are also usually the guys that at mid to low tiers will sit above the enemy spawn in a BF-109 in Air RB, or Air AB. That said, there is a little bit of good to be said for players flying the entry G91s. They're usually somewhat team players and usually at least somewhat competent. So if you see a G91R3, stick with him. He may not be the best ally, but he'll try his hardest. And even if you lose, he'll still leave you with a nice little wholesome feeling in your heart. Well, at least until the next match where you meet a damn R4 anyway. This also goes for Ho 229 players and occasionally MiG 15 players. They're usually a chill bunch. Oh boy. Okay. Russia. So Russian players are probably the most varied bunch, and they have probably the widest spectrum of players. At one end, you have the complete clueless players. These guys will chase a target, run out of ammo before they even hit the target. They're cannon fodder. Then you have the mildly competent guys. They tend to stick to low tier and won't talk very much usually. When they do, they're usually pretty friendly, but as far as flying, they tend to just stick to themselves. Then there's the mostly competent. These guys are the best ones to be around. They're really friendly and try to be team players as much as possible. They're also the rarest of the Russian player base. And lastly, we have the really good players, which come in two flavors. Flavor A is your generic Russian seal clubber. Like the American version, the club in Russian is generally chill, although they can get a little bit salty when they're facing German or Swedish planes. The other flavor is the Russian German. These guys are the same breed as the German players who sit above the Air AB spawn boom and zoom people as they spawn in, except they're a lot more toxic and a little bit more skilled. You'll usually see them trying to strafe runways, spawn camp, and they'll almost always be talking trash in the all faction chat. So British players are generally pretty decent and fairly friendly. I don't think I've ever seen a toxic Brit, and I really can't ever recall seeing an unskilled Brit. What I have seen a lot of, and I mean a lot of, are British seal clubbers. They're friendly, and they're usually trying to help their team. These guys will almost always end the match with 10 to 15 kills. The difference between most seal clubbers and these guys, however, is that if this guy kills you, and then you turn around and ask him for advice, he'll take the time out of his day to sit there and explain to you, what you did wrong and how you can improve. They're scary, but they're a nice giant who will teach you how to swing your club just as readily as they'll hit you over the head with theirs. So, French players rarely ever talk. Like, ever. When they do talk, it's usually as few words as possible, and they're usually focused on the mission at hand. That said, they're usually found pushing objectives, although they're not really too fond of helping teammates. If you see a Frenchie, either help him or just stay out of his way and let him do his thing. Alright, so Japan, these guys come in one of three breeds. The first is the veteran player looking for something new to work on. These guys are usually pretty rare, but they're usually friendly enough, and they're fairly skilled. They have an understanding of how air works, at least. So they've usually got another tree that they've at least sunk a few hours into. The second breed of Japanese player you'll see is the casual weeb. These guys will generally have a Japanese or anime-related name. They're not too skilled, but they get incredibly salty. They'll also, if you get into a fight with one of these guys and then try to run, they will pursue you to the ends of the earth. If you happen to get the kill on him, you better keep an eye out for him, because for the rest of the match, he will be coming for you every time he spawns. That said, if you beat him once, you can usually do it again. So just pay attention and make sure you go into engagement on your terms rather than on his, and you'll have a steady stream of basically free kills. Now, the last stereotype for Japan is the evolved weeb. These guys generally have names that are either subtly Japan-related, such as a car brand. I've seen a lot of them with references to Honda. Or they'll have a completely un-Japan-related name. So they'll kind of blend in with the veterans. However, you'll know these guys right off the bat, because these guys are absolute destroyers. They'll hop into a match, curb stomp everything in sight, and never say a word. They play Japanese air almost religiously. They know every little detail about each and every one of their planes. It's actually kind of unsettling to run across these guys. If there's one on the enemy team, stick with your friendlies and engage him as a group. Whatever you do, don't be the one to score the kill on him. Like the casual weeb, he will be coming for you if you kill him. Unlike the casual weeb, however, the evolved weeb will chase you across games. If you join a match a week later, he's on the enemy team, you may not remember him, but he will remember you, and he will not rest until he has carved his opinions on SAO Season 2 into your skin with bullets. So, I rarely see Chinese players other than in early jets. That said, I do see Chinese players fairly regularly in early jets, particularly, pretty much exclusively in the Shenyang F5. If you see a Shenyang, stick by him. Either he's going to be really, really helpful, or he's going to do something really stupid and die in a spectacular and hilarious way. Either way, though, he'll try to be a team player, and he'll usually be really friendly. Alright, so Italy is Germany light. No, seriously, the Italian players are. They usually don't talk too much, and are usually somewhere between above average and slightly better than derp. The rare occasion you do find a chatty Italian, he'll either be on the Germany suffers bandwagon, waving an Italian "Me Too" flag, or he'll, for whatever reason, come across as completely stoned out of his mind, but friendly enough. That said, I have noticed that Italian players do seem to be a bit more aggressive than German players, almost like they got something to prove. So if you see an Italian player, especially a G55, be ready for a fight because he's almost certainly looking for one. Swedish players are sometimes chatty with their team, rarely with the enemy team. The exception is when they're the really salty type that'll bitch about almost everything, mainly missile spam at high tier and German 20s at low tier. That said, most Swedish players in ranks 2 to 4 are pretty good. Ranks 1 and 2 are usually a mixed bag of derp and slightly better than derp. And 5 and 6 are mostly decent with more than a few derp moments as they, get used to new things like missiles and the J-29 somehow being simultaneously shit and not shit. You really can't expect teamwork from a Swedish player as they tend to be off doing their own thing. The exception to this is if they're in a squad with someone. If a Swede is in a pre-made squad, he and his buddy have about a 50-50 shot of trying to help other team members. If he's if he's squatted up with a rando, he'll usually try to stick to that rando until either the rando dies or does something really dumb. I've also noticed Swedish players in the same high tier aircraft sticking together, even if they're not in a squad together. So for example, if you see one of the J-29s or one of the Saab 105s, watch your back because there's an 85% chance there are going to be 2 or 3 more with him just kind of lurking out of sight. Alright, so that does it for the nations of stereotypes in air. As I said before, stereotypes don't mean everyone. You shouldn't judge people based on what some dumbass on the internet is saying about their nation. This is mainly for entertainment. Matter of fact, this video is solely for entertainment purposes only. So don't be a dick and then just say, "Oh well, Arskov said this player is this because this." I won't have your back in that one. I won't do it.